We are live. It says it. You see it? Did you see it?
It does.
We are live. Did you see it?
Oh, no.
It put a thing. It said, we're live. Yes, we're live, folks. Hello, hello.
Well, welcome everyone to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. I am Greta Russo, and this is Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant, please introduce
Hello.
yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. We've had a packed week. We were here on Monday, and now we're again here on this Friday as our routine. Well, Monday was special. Today is the routine. But I am Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm a veterinarian, and I work in the airline industry. And I share pet-centric travel education for pet owners and fellow veterinarians or veterinary professionals alike. Been doing this now for about 4 years now. And I'm loving every minute of it. You might wonder, why am I in this position? Why am I able to share this information? Is because of my position that I have. I am on staff with Delta Airlines. I was brought on staff to help review and revise the policies for animal transportation. And in that role, I started noticing that there are preparation tips that pet owners, or just say animal shippers or pet shippers, need to be aware of to better prepare their animals for transportation and ensure they get to their destination safely. And there's steps that you need to do in preparation for air travel. And it's not all just say the airline does this or whatever. Really, it should be a concerted effort. It should be teamwork, working together with the airline to ensure the animals get to their destination safely. So I share pet-centric or animal-centric education or content to help educate the masses, basically. So that's who I am. Greta, please share who you are, please.
Sure. My name is Greta Russo, and I help Dr. Bryant with her marketing and getting the message out with When Pets Fly, so that we can reach pet parents as well as veterinarians, travel specialists, and all of the professionals that are in the medical as well as the travel world. So it's been a fun journey and learning so much, and we try to reach out and connect with different stakeholders in this whole travel world. Like Dr. Bryant mentioned, on Monday we had a special episode with PetKey, which is a microchipping company, and we had a fabulous conversation. So if you would like to learn more about microchipping, please visit that episode. But some key takeaways, well, not only is it for identification, but also the most important thing is reunification, so that you are able to get back to your pet. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And, where a lot of great dogs are trained and, know how to sit and obey, when anything scary comes along, it's every man for himself. And that includes your dog and your cat, and even the birds will fly away. So if you can microchip your cat and your dog, at least there's a way of identifying, number one, who they are and who they belong to, and reunifying them back to you. So yeah, I love that episode.
It was a very good episode. A lot of common misconceptions regarding microchipping people have. I was having a great conversation with my brother, and he brought up, he thought there, and I think we mentioned it during the session with Emma with PetKey and Iris with PetKey. It's not a GPS tracker. Unfortunately, it's not that, but it still is a way to identify your pet. God forbid they get lost routinely near home, or if you're away and traveling, God forbid, you want to be able to identify your pet. There could be so many, I always just say the term black labs because it's a very common breed, but there's so many black labs out there. How am I going to identify mine from someone else's? And how you do that is through a microchip. And to travel internationally, definitely always remember it needs to be ISO compliant or compatible and have 15 digits. And actually, it's a regulatory requirement when you're traveling internationally to have your pet microchip. So be mindful of that. And it's extremely important to do that. If you're going to microchip your pet in general at all, I would say make sure it's ISO compliant, because if not, guess what, folks? You would have to re-microchip your pet to get the ISO compliant microchip. So if you're traveling internationally. So, but yeah, so many misconceptions. Like you said, Greta, people think that their pet will stay nearby, but you can't guarantee anything. What if you were on vacation, someone else was watching your pet on your behalf, the door was left open, and they got out? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you told me that, what did you share regarding the shelter environment sometimes when they pick up an animal?
Well, and honestly, that's what scared me the most, because when we have these natural disasters, and there's different ones for different parts of the country in the United States, and probably around the world, but when that happens, the animals take off if you do not rescue them yourself. So now they're away. Well, how are you going to get with them? So we have all these fantastic organizations that go and save these animals, from floods, from fires, from hurricanes, from volcanoes, whatever it may be, and they take them back to their shelters. Well, guess what? In the United States, they're only mandatory to keep those animals for 4 days, looking for the owner. And after that, they can adopt them out. So that means your dog or cat is going to be sent off to another shelter to be adopted out, or they're going to be adopted out there. But guess what? Your favorite dog or your favorite cat is now going to be somebody else's pet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrible thing to think about.
And even to think about what the pet experiences from their standpoint too. Isn't that's really scary? Very scary experience for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just for not only your own peace of mind, but so that your dog or your cat can have the peace of mind of knowing you'll be able to find them when they're in need, please microchip your cat or dog so that you can be put back together again.
Yep.
So, but you know what? Today is Good Friday.
Yes.
So
let me also tell you, I wanted to say it's my son's birthday too. So today was the day that I became a mother, a good 23 years ago. But yeah, today's my son's birthday as well. But yes,
happy birthday.
Thank you. So, but yeah, good as far as yes, it is Good Friday. So happy Good Friday to everyone.
Yes, and we're just getting through Passover. So happy Passover for everyone who celebrated. And Easter is on Sunday, so lots of high hats, and everybody runs to church and all that good stuff. I think I've heard a priest say twice a year our church is filled to the brim, and that's Easter and Christmas. Just wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter.
Yes. Same here.
Let's see. I apologize. What I was going to say just completely left out of my head, but I'm very excited that we have a returning guest, Bonnie Emmerich from Hampton Pet Chef coming on, and we'll talk about pet nutrition and her great business. Now, everyone, she's out of New York, I believe Long Beach, but I think her business started in Hampton, and hence the name. But her food, she makes homemade food in her kitchen for pets, and you could honestly eat her food. So, and it's like, I think that's just absolutely amazing. But I can't wait to hear.
That's awesome. Like I said, human grade food for your pet, you can't beat that. Very nutritious.
Absolutely. So that'll be a great thing. And also I know when people travel, probably the hardest thing to plan for is planning around your pet's nutrition. I hate to say it, when I was a little girl, so we had cats and dogs and like everything under the sun. And our one one dog always went on our family trips. So when we were driving, my dad would go to McDonald's and get everybody, food, but then the dog would get a Happy Meal too. So it's like, I'm hoping people aren't doing that anymore, but I'm kind of like, I think people still are doing that, But
Well,
when you're
that is the riskiest time to do that, because already we try to definitely share with pet owners as veterinarians. We share that do not feed them table food or anything they don't normally eat, because it can cause pancreatitis. They get vomiting and diarrhea, and it's bad. So to feed your pet a Happy Meal while you're on vacation is probably one of the worst things you can do, because they'll be sick while you're away, and then now all the other things you have to worry and consider while you're away traveling with your dog or cat. So consistency with their diet during travel is extremely important. Making sure they just meet all the nutritional needs, like I said, while they're at home and traveling, just extremely important.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring Bonnie on so we can talk more about nutrition and travel. And I won't share any more of the horror stories from when I was young.
Hi.
Let's see.
Hi there, Bonnie.
Oh, you see her? Okay.
Yes,
I didn't see her mine.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gone. Do you see her?
Oh, let me see if I can.
Is she there? Okay, I'll bring her back on and I'll leave.
Why did you do that? Did you do that? I'm gonna do it. Hold still.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
She's off. We got it. We got it. How you doing, Bonnie?
Happy birthday to your son.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry about that. It's like I don't see the same thing you guys see. That's why I was like, is she there? Is she not? But let me.
Bugs happen.
Well, at least we got you with us now.
Mm-hmm.
It is so good to see you again, Bonnie. And just to remind everyone, Bonnie actually has been on our show a couple of times. So I'm very excited to have her back. But let me introduce you to everyone, and then we'll go right into it. The creation of Hampton Pet Chef came from Bonnie's love for animals. Having companion animals is an extension of family. She knows the best things you can do to show your love and keep them in your life for as long as possible is to keep their diet fresh and healthy. That is her goal. Bonnie has worked in the hospitality and food business for most of her life. She has cooked professionally. She has always delighted in people's enjoyment of her food. She loves to be able to do the same for your special pet. Meals are all made fresh to order with your pet in mind. Bonnie has worked hard to create delicious, healthy, well-balanced meals to keep your special friend happy and healthy. Bonnie has appeared on Animal Planet, People TV, and has furnished food for the Hallmark Channel. Everyone, please help me welcome Bonnie Emmerich from Hampton Pet Chef. Yay!
Awesome, Bonnie.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Awesome, Bonnie. So tell me, you initially started out just cooking for people, and then you switched to pets, or what happened?
Yeah, no, I was living and working in the Hamptons, and I would cater at people's houses, and they had lovely, spacious homes. And honestly, their dogs were living better than I was. They had their own little bedrooms and their own everything. And I said, you know what? I think that people would like that, to have their dogs be fussed over as well as they like being fussed over. So basically, I came up with something that is aesthetic for the people, because they'll feel better, if it looks pretty, and is nutritional for the animals. And that's pretty much the way I was going. So I do some events, and I have cute little hors d'oeuvres and puppetizers, and basically people could eat them as well if they wanted to. They just don't have a lot of salt. I use a lot of fresh herbs, especially in the summer and spring when I grow them in my backyard. And I use spices like turmeric and cumin, so shawarma rubs, and different kinds of things like that don't include onions and garlic and things that they really can't have. So it is very tasty. I use my stocks. So when I'm slow cooking, like for the holiday, I made a nice Moroccan lamb I put some shawarma seasoning on it, put it in the slow cooker, put some ginger in the broth there, and a little bit of thyme and rosemary, and it made the stock really delicious. So when I mix everything up, all the different vegetables, and I add the stock to it, and it makes it really flavorful and delicious. So you really don't miss any of those other things. And hence then people want to eat it. So, but it's really for the dogs. So after that, and I had the stock from that, I made a new dish, a beef ossobuco. So that was the beef shank with the marrow bones. And that all went into the stock. I added a little bit of tomato, some more rosemary, and I used dandelion leaves and broccoli rabe, and just to make it more like authentic Italian kind of. And it was delicious. I tasted it because I taste everything before I send it out to the dogs. It was delicious. It's really good.
So how often do you develop new menus, or what? How often?
I try to do seasonal menus.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm working on my spring menu. I'm a little bit late, but up here it doesn't really feel quite like spring yet.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'll be putting that online soon, and I'll be including those two dishes. And I always have a fish dish, and I'll figure out some other kind of things. I like to use the fish that's in season if I can, and as long as it's not too.
What a question for you. What about dogs that potentially have food allergies? Do you have?
Oh, sure. I work with food allergies. I'm able to get novel proteins. I can get any kind of wild, kind of like goose or bison. I can get elk. Anything. I won't use rabbit, I have to say, because I have I have always had pet rabbits, but I know that that's something that people use. I haven't used kangaroo yet. I mean, somebody, if they insisted, I guess I know where I can get it. It's just that's like a big rabbit to me. So silly. But yes, definitely I work with allergies. I can make food with no grains if people want, using chickpeas or lentils. I like to usually put a little bit of some kind of grain in my, even if it's barley, or I'll use quinoa. But if somebody really feels that their dog can't tolerate that, then I definitely could just do lentils or something similar.
That's so cool.
So you must have been really busy with this Easter holiday. How many meals would you say that you prepared and sold for the holiday weekend?
Just for Easter?
Yeah.
Really like 25 just Easter things. I mean, I am kind of small, but yeah, I did a lot of lamb, and I did that ossobuco. I did 2 fish dishes just for the holiday. I guess people like to do what they do in real life with their dogs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was just gonna there's a question that is around the holidays with that. How can people incorporate their pets into the holiday meals? I know you prepare a lot, but what can you suggest for people to do as well?
Well, as long as you're not using onions and garlic, you can, and too much salt. Like, I know, seasoning is great, but if you do too much, that's why I like to use rubs that I create that are more like Middle Eastern type of things. But you want to stay away from fatty. You don't want to give your dog a lot of animal fat. I mean, they do need fat in their diet, but clean oils and fish oils I prefer to use. So when I am making something like a lamb, like I'm going to trim all that fat off of it. So if you're making something like a leg of lamb for your, for Easter, you might want to just cut a little piece off before you cook it for your people, and use maybe a lighter seasoning, not the salt, not the garlic, but you can use herbs like the rosemary. And so they're having the same thing as you, but you're making it safe for them. Turkey, again,
Absolutely.
you don't want to give them the skin with all the salt and pepper and stuff. I mean, you can have pepper, but you don't want to put a lot of that. I basically try to stay away from the really fatty things. I know like lamb is fatty, but you can trim whatever you can trim, and you can just sear a piece for them, That's basically what I would do if I was having family over. If you want to, I wouldn't give them ham at all. People get the spiral ham with the sugar glaze. No, absolutely not. Stay away from that.
There's a lot of foods that folks don't realize. During these holiday seasons, they think they're doing their pet a benefit by giving them something a little bit different off the table, but they don't realize the fact that there's a lot of foods that can be toxic. And you've definitely touched on the onions, garlic, probably shallots. And there's a longer list of things that I'm not even mentioning, but those key things that we love in our food, that we love the taste of, you can't give that to your pets. It's toxic. So I'm glad you're mentioning that.
Well, pets can't do salt. And I don't think people realize that. Like the worst thing that people can give pets is any meats that we season with salt. Or when you said ham, that's cured with salt. So they can't have any part of that. They can't have lunch meat. That's pure salt. So animals cannot do salt at all. But
everything.
Well, sometimes the ham has currants, or you can't have raisins. You have to be careful about that.
Yeah, all these things. Yeah. But definitely say there. See, but again, the onions and shallots and garlic, that's going to cause something really specific. It's not going to say cause a pancreatitis. It causes more or less like a hemolytic anemia. It causes really a bad situation in pets when they ingest that. So those, again, I love that you're definitely mindful of that and bringing it up here today, that those are things you avoid, and when you're making these meals for them, and it's extremely important. So again, for those that want to share their food with their pet during these holiday times, just remember that there are toxic things that are toxic to animals. Some can cause internal problems as far as messing with their blood system, with causing a hemolytic anemia, and then there's also others that can cause a pancreatitis. Something salty or the sugars can inflame the pancreas. And I always say the pancreas is one organ in the body that we need. I don't know if you guys realize, of all the organs in our body, of course, we need our brain, and we need our lungs, and we need our heart. But you can get a lung transplant. You can't get a brain transplant, but you get a lung transplant, you get a heart transplant. But your pancreas, we need it. You can't get a transplant on that. And the pancreas normally helps digest food, but when it's inflamed, it's kind of ingested itself. And you can't live without that organ. So be careful with the salty foods, sugary foods. Raisins as you mentioned, raisins are going to cause kidney problems. So gosh, there's a long list. And I think, Greta, maybe we should add something on here in reference to relate to you on this, to Bonnie, of just reminding folks of foods that are toxic to pets.
Yeah, the grapes, the raisins, definitely chocolate. Don't try to give your pet a little, happy Easter egg.
Oh my God, yeah.
Easter egg. Don't do that.
Yeah.
No Peeps. Nothing.
No.
None of that.
No.
I know the kids like to open the baskets and they want to share things with their, pet, but we have to make sure that we see that we're not giving the pet any of the fun candy in the Easter basket.
Yeah.
And what you feed your dog has always been like a taboo subject in the pet world, because number one, people are so passionate about what they feed their dogs, because there's so many different things. Some people are even making their dogs vegan. I saw one gentleman, he actually feeds his dog. He does a raw diet. So he gets these from a butcher, big lumps of meat, even packaging of rabbit. and he gives him garlic. And it's like, I don't agree, but he's got a lot of fans that are copying him. And it's like, I think pet parents should ask your veterinarian, number one, what diet would work best for your pet? And number two, what do you recommend? I just don't think we should follow what is, trendy, and see if our dog or cat likes it. Because some of these things can be poisonous. And I was going to ask you, Bonnie, what do you think about raw diets? I mean, like just raw meat. I know you provide great meals.
Just raw meat from the butcher. I mean, it sounds great, but I don't know, because the raw diet, you have to be really careful with these little microorganisms that are around, and they could be on the cutting board, or they could, be on the knife. I don't know who this butcher is. I'm sure he's careful, because, you have to be careful. But most of the raw food that you would get at a pet center has been treated so that there aren't microorganisms on them. I don't know about just going to the butcher and getting that. I don't think that that's the best thing you can do, for sure, because I'd be too scared that something's on there that. So I softly cook things, so it still has the nutrition. It's not like the factories where it's cooked at a very high temperature. I like to slow cook things. So I understand what people are trying to achieve with that. And they seem to think that there's still wild animals, but most of our dogs are not wild animals.
Sophisticated at this point. And the interesting thing about the folks that are saying the raw meat diet for your dogs, they said they're omnivores. They're not. The true carnivores are cats.
Right.
Dogs are omnivores, so they need meat and the veggies and everything together. Same as we're omnivores. So
right.
Giving them strict meat and all that, I think it's a big risk. And also, as you're saying, what could be on it? I mean, there's salmonella could be transmitted that way, E. coli, and probably other bacterial pathogens I'm not even thinking of. But those are two that pop in my mind that you potentially are risking, number one, you handling it, that you can get exposed to, and also exposing your pet to that.
Right. That's good. That's a good thought also, that you could be getting ingesting something that's not good for you.
Right.
And it's true. So that's why I don't deal with that. I mean, people can do what they want, but that's not a big thing. I don't think that as far as I'm concerned. I know that some people like to do that with their cats too. That's still risky because of the things, but I can see, like what you're saying, for a cat, that would probably be better than for a dog, because the dogs, like, I like to incorporate as much fresh and local things that I can do. Winter, I use a lot of root vegetables, and I have to put it in proportion of what, like, you don't want to give too much vitamin D. You don't want to give too much vitamin A. You want to make sure that things are balanced, because you don't want any problems. But once you get that right balance, and you're feeding your animal different things all the time. Like, I also don't like when people are always feeding the same thing, because I think that it's better to be introducing different things. And what we can get locally and seasonally is really nice, because that it hasn't been handled by a whole bunch of people. It's just pretty much the farmer and you. If you can go to your farmer's market, I know that sometimes that's expensive. You can if you have to buy like frozen organic vegetables, that's fine too. But whatever you can get locally that hasn't been transported a very far distance with a lot of different people changing hands and touching things. And, I just think that that's the best approach if you can do it.
Right.
I don't know what you can do really if you're in Alaska. I mean, maybe you have to use more of the frozen, but try to use the organic and you'll be okay.
What do you think about freeze-dried food?
I think that freeze-dried food is a good option, especially if you have to travel. I mean, that's an easier way to do things.
Yeah.
I would trust a freeze-dried food. I do, like the Stella and
Yeah.
Chewy's, or I'm not trying to push anybody else's brand, but I've
Yeah.
had there's situations where I think that would work out well, especially if you have to travel. Now I know
I
that
was doing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You lead.
I was doing a little research for you coming on here, and I saw there's so much conversation against kibble, and I would probably say kibble is probably the number one thing people feed. I think because of familiarity, everybody grew up with it, and also it wasn't until now that we're starting to find out that kibble is not the best thing to feed your cats and dogs. And so, I was trying to understand these other different things, and I really noticed that there's a huge swing towards freeze dried, where it's your natural ingredients, like what you use, Bonnie, but they're just freeze dried. Some people add a little bit of water, some people don't. But what I love about them is that, like you said, they're so easy to carry when you are traveling. There's no mess. They pack up just like kibble would, but it's all natural. And it comes in fruit. It provides fruits and vegetables and your raw meats as well. So I would think that's a really good choice as far as providing nutritional value. That's why I was asking what you thought about it.
I think it's good in a pinch. And I personally, I'm going to say I like the homemade food, but I do realize that there are situations where that's hard. So you could take the homemade foods with you in a little plastic Ziploc bag if you're traveling for the day, but like you said, if you don't have a lot of room to carry things, or you can't fit a little soft nylon cooler with a ice pack into your carry-on, then I would say that that's a good, safe option. I mean, it's up to your dog. So now I would think that if your dog is usually eating like my food, and now you're taking him on the plane, is he going to want a different food after that? I mean, maybe his stomach was a little queasy from the landing or whatever. So you might want to just feed him what he's used to eating. I'm not a big fan of kibble either. I know that some of the prescription diets are kibble, but they're cooked at a very high temperature. So I'm not a fan, but people, I know why they do it. I know they might be out of the house a lot and think that if they just leave it there, but it's really the best thing is just to have feeding times and not leave big amounts of food out all day for them to come and go. It's not really the best for their system. And you should have portion control if you want your dog to be in the healthiest position that it can be in.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. A lot of that's a common misconception. They just fill the bowl up and keep it full, but with that, it causes them to graze all day long. It's almost like us being a couch potato and just munching all day long, and then wonder why we're gaining weight. You need to kind of have a time to eat, put it down for portion control, put it down, and for a certain period of time, then pick it back up and feed that way, so that they don't get into the grazing and just overeating, basically. So, yeah, I agree.
Dr. Bryant, for adult cats and dogs, how many times a day do you recommend putting the feeding bowl down?
I mean, they say ideally when they're younger, I guess with puppies and kittens, it's usually say 3 times a day feeding. When they become an adult, usually it's twice a day. I know some people just feed their pets once a day, which I think that they would probably really eat a whole lot. I mean, I guess it's still portion control, but I think it's best twice a day. the feeding, and again, you gauge it based upon your pet as well. If they're a little bit older and you feel they need more nutrients during the day, say a senior dog or cat, they need more, to put down some more, maybe midday snack or something, ideally.
And I know people that over treat. Like treating is only supposed to be like 10% of their calories, but people over treat. And I know it's hard to say no to those little puppy eyes, but sometimes you just have to.
Right. But you know what I've done, and I did in the past with my dog that I had, to get their weights down. What do you think of this, Bonnie, thoughts as far as those treats? I would give her cucumber slices, cherry tomatoes, and she loves stuff like that. And that's what I that's what I, using as treats, and also to top the food sometimes. I just cut that up and put in there. And I think that's good for them, to give them that little bit of variety, a crunch and different flavors.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And fennel too. People don't realize they like fennel. They like fennel, and it's good for your stomach.
Okay. I need to try that.
As a treat, as a little snack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crunchy too. So yeah, cucumbers are great.
Bonnie, if I was traveling this weekend, and I'm used to ordering from you, what are the types of foods that I could order from you that would travel? Would you be able to make something, or maybe even suggest?
I make these little puppetizer. They're like little meals, mini meatloaves in cute little shapes, bone shape, paw shape, everything cute. And so they're small. So if you were traveling and maybe your dog's tummy wasn't feeling so great from that descent from the sky, and once you get down and everything's, pop them a little, it's just a little meal in a tiny size. It's got oats and vegetables, and I'll put a few berries in there, whatever's fresh. And it's great because it travels easy, it's small, and it's not a whole big meal. You could just, see how she's feeling once, you get a little bit settled, and give her, a few of those. That works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a big
that's
meal.
a great.
Yeah. That's good, because people don't realize that when they're the same. There's some people. I went through a spell in my life where I would get motion sickness when I was flying. It was like every time I flew, I would be sick to my stomach. And I'm sure pets, when they travel as well, they will occasionally get sick to their stomach from the motion sickness, basically. So they might need a diet that's easier to digest, kind of bland. I always tell folks, when you have an upset stomach, folks would always think that you can go back to the regular diet when a pet, say, has motion sickness or upset stomach. But it's almost the same as us. If we had this, we wouldn't have Mexican food or something spicy if I was sick to my stomach. So start thinking of it that way too. So I like that you have travel along something that's going to be, they like, but it's easier, a little bit blander, easier to digest.
Right. I wonder also, do they get, when you feel like your ears are popping, do they?
I think they do too. I think everything, and I don't, it's interesting you ask that question, because there's no data really out on animals as far as how they experience things. Because there's no research, US-based research that I've found for that. Maybe I saw some articles in Canada where they tested stress levels by checking the cortisol levels of pets during transport to see if they have any spike in cortisol, saying the stress hormone. And yes, they did notice that it was associated with traveling and everything. But in the US base, and that was many years ago, US base, something recent, there's nothing testing on animals. So me telling you that I really do believe they will have motion sickness, because if we do it, why not? And if same as with us, if we develop pressure in our ears, why wouldn't they? We're all animals technically. So right. I just don't see any difference.
I'm thinking maybe it's even worse for them with their ears.
It might be because they're more sensitive. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So all things to consider when people are traveling with them, it's an adjust. I would imagine it's a big adjustment for them to travel. The stress of it, and then internally what it's all doing to their body. Just feeling nauseous and everything. So it would be a lot. It's an adjustment for them as well, I'll just say.
I once I got there, but that's me because I like to cook, I would make a little chicken soup for them, you know? So that's always settling, makes you feel good. So.
Yeah.
And you can just put it on the food if you want, or whatever you're doing. I mean, I know it's hard if you're going to be visiting people to really bring that much fresh food. But, you know, if anybody wants a recipe, they can always email me and I'll give you a recipe. And you can make it when you get to, you know, if you're not staying in a hotel, if you're staying in at somebody's house or, you know, a rental house, make something quick. Like, it's easy. If you have a slow cooker at the place, it's very easy.
Right.
So,
spring is here.
Yes.
I apologize. Spring is here and summer barbecue is around the corner. What can you suggest to keep dogs safe?
Okay, great. First of all, we're going to keep them away from the barbecue so they don't snatch anything that's too hot off the barbecue and hurt themselves.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we can make lots of delicious things. Like, we're not going to throw them a steak. Too many calories, too much fat. I know people like to put different kinds of things on their meat. So even though we're not maybe putting necessarily garlic on it, you don't want to put garlic powder. So I think the best thing to do is make a little skewer of some pieces of whatever meat you like and your dog likes. So some chicken or some beef, even some shrimp, if you really want to treat them. And, you know, your red pepper, you could put a mushroom, believe it or not. Some people don't think mushrooms are good for them, but they can really be good for their digestion. And just put like a shawarma spice or that you could buy from the store, or you could just put some cumin and turmeric. Just, you know, seasonings that are delicious that you might not use all the time, because I know a lot of people just think of barbecue as, you know, barbecue sauce, which we don't want to use.
Right. No.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, they might put like a rub with cocoa and, you know, all these new rubs or Montreal seasoning that's got too much salt, even for me, but it's delicious. But
It's
whatever.
delicious. Yeah, that's delicious.
None of that. Just none of that. We're
Right.
going to just use our turmeric and our cumin, or, you know, some kind of interesting seasonings that are safe for your dog. And you can always just go on and Google, is this safe for my dog? If you're really not sure. But if you're not sure, stay away from it. And
Right.
just, you know, like a nice skewer of something and put that out in the bowl. It won't be too high in calories. It won't be too high in fat. And it should be like a perfect barbecue solution.
How long would you cook it? Like a regular length of time?
Well, I want it, you know, well, depending on the meat, but I probably would only, you know, if it's chicken, you're going to have to cook it a little bit longer. But, you know, probably just like if you turn it 5 minutes on each side, should be sufficient.
What about what are your suggestions for a nice cool treat? You know, some just nice cooling treats for the summer for dogs or cats.
Well, you can get some goat kefir. So you're not using cow's milk, because I don't think that's really a great option for dogs once they're adults. I think it causes gas. Everybody's different, but so some kefir, and you could put some blueberries or raspberries and mix it all together and throw it in the freezer. And then it'll come out, you pop it out of whatever cute little form you use. Like, there's plenty of cute forms, and just pop it out. And that's a quick little thing that you can have in the freezer and use as a treat, which really is not really high in calories either, if you're using those things. So, you know, the fruit, the raspberries make a great, blueberries make it great. Just throw it in, you know, throw it all together in the blender, and then just pour it in to a cute little shaped mold. You know, there's little individual cute things, and then just pop them out as you need them.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds tasty.
Do you agree with cutting up apples and bananas and just feeding it to them Like you would eat an apple or banana?
Sure, as long as it doesn't have any of the core or seeds.
Mhm.
You want to watch the sugar, so you're not going to give them a whole apple, but a couple slices. Bananas are very high in sugar, so you can give a couple slices, more on the starchy side rather than the really sweet, I think is safer. But yeah, fresh fruit is great. And like Dr. Bryant said, cucumber slices. If you're doing a party with the hors d'oeuvres and you want to have your dog included, you could put a little, piece of seared salmon or tuna on top of a cucumber slice, and everybody can eat that. So there's things you can do. You just have to be a little creative.
Okay, this is going to be probably a crazy question, but I'm just curious. Have you ever catered an event? I mean, you're in Hamptons, you're out on Long Island, and I mean, people have money galore. Has anyone ever had an event for their pet and you catered the event for them?
Yeah. And I do things. Yeah, I did. A friend she had a dog. Oh, this poor thing's gone, but they would have her birthday party, and a bunch of other dogs would come, and it was really cute. And they'd go in the pool, and they'd come out, and we'd have little hors d'oeuvres for them. And my friend would give everybody there was little contests, but everybody would win something. So you'd have these little certificates and cute little goodie bags. So we put some stuff in the goodie bags. Yeah, it's perfect. And then I think my picture on my website is at a beach party that somebody did in East Hampton for pets. I work with a lot of rescues, so we'll do some events for those. I've done, like I said, on the Hallmark Channel, I provided food for an episode they did about the puppy bowl. And I've done a lot of stuff like that. I even sometimes do it with the stores, because the stores are pet friendly. They'll put like water bowls in front of those stores. So sometimes the stores will have a customer appreciation day, and we'll have a little tray of doggy friendly food along with the other people's food, because they can have a piece of cheese, but you don't want to be feeding them a lot of cheese.
Yeah.
So if it's like cheese and crackers and wine for the people, then the pups can have something else, So we'll do the little, those little like sliders in a cute shape, and, little like chicken liver and like maybe on cucumber, something like that. So yeah, it's nice. It's fun. I like the summer because I like the events,
No, that's.
You have a cookbook that you sell.
I want to have a cookbook that I sell. I'm trying to work on one. I'm all over the place because, but yeah, I want to do it. But like I said, if anybody just wants a quick recipe to make at their guest house, when they're going to be somewhere, I'll be glad to furnish. Just email me and I'll be glad to furnish you with one of the easier recipes that I can give to you. So no problem. Hampton Pet Chef at gmail.com. And sometimes I have, stuff online. So yeah, I'm welcome. I just want everybody to be happy and their dogs to live a long life. And I feel like even if I'm not making it for you, if you're in Georgia and you can't get my food in New York, I'll be glad to give you a recipe.
I'm just thinking it's interesting how food is a center for everything we do, and just it makes everybody happy, basically,
Yeah, well, it gives you a sense of community when you're, having people over for a barbecue, and part of your community is your pet. So you want to have something that's safe for him or her,
right,
and still feel like, it's a fun event.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, who wants to smell
do you have something
and not eat it?
Yeah.
Do you have some foods that you could ship? Like if we wanted to order something here in Georgia, would you be able to ship that to us?
I could ship it.
Okay, well that's great.
It's a little pricey to ship, but yeah, I could do it. Definitely, I would love to. I mean, if you ever have some kind of meeting down there and you want to do something, I'd be glad to come down and do it. Yeah, no problem.
Fantastic. So on the summer theme of things, do you offer like a barbecue meals for the dogs and stuff?
Do I offer barbecue meals? I can. I don't know if you mean like, can I pre-make something and sell it to somebody to cook it on their barbecue, or just me barbecuing and putting that into my recipe?
Well, I guess like how you made the meals for Easter. So with summertime being barbecues, do you make meals for dogs that they could have at a barbecue? Like I know you mentioned we could make skewers, but do you also offer meals?
Sure, I can offer meals. I can grill something and then put it into a recipe. I probably, well, I definitely would only use the gas. I mean, I know barbecues taste better with charcoal, but I don't want to cook on charcoal for anymore. I mean, I know it tastes better, but it's just not better. So yeah, I could do anything. I could do a steak, but this way, as long as I'm doing it and I know the proportions of the food, so I could grill some vegetables as well, some zucchini, some red peppers. I could put in a little rosemary and make it really nice. Sure, I could do that. Or if somebody said to me, Bonnie, we're having a barbecue this weekend, can you just set up something and I'll cook it on the grill? I can do that as well with advice on how to cook it.
Okay.
So either way,
Fantastic.
sure, I could do that.
I don't know, Bonnie, you're making me hungry right now, you know?
I know, right? It's just about lunchtime anyway.
I'm hungry. I think it's awesome that all the things you're doing. Honestly, it's amazing as far as you would never suspect that would be something that you can make money off of, or that it could be a business, and it's wonderful. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
I don't think if I was in the Hamptons, I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just saw the good life that a lot of these dogs live, and I would like for anybody's dog to be able to do that. You don't have to have a mansion, you could live in a little cottage. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know years ago when I was living back up north, I used to work with a lot of rescues and with their holiday events. And the one thing I always made it pet inclusive. And so I would have a step and repeat for the dogs. And then that was set up like miniature size. So there was no people, it was just dogs. And then I would have like a whole buffet table of pet food. Well, I shouldn't say pet food, homemade pet food like yourself, Bonnie, where it was made and brought in just for that event. And people were like, they thought it was regular people food. So they would eat the cookies and they would eat the other stuff that was there.
Like these little sugar.
That happens. That happens. I had a friend who I made some samples for her dog. This is years ago, and her son came in and ate it and said, "Well, that was good, but it needed some salt." I was like, "Oh my God, it's so funny." I also did something in the Hamptons. It was like a spa day for people and their pets, and I made these meals, for the pets, and it was really nice. I made like a terrine, and I used some elk and duck, and because this dog couldn't have this and that dog couldn't have this and this dog can't have that, and I said to myself, well, then I'm just going to use all novel proteins and make just 2 things. I don't want to make 6 different things, because one dog might say, oh, I wanted that, like when you go out with your girlfriends and you get something and you're like, oh, why didn't I order that? So I didn't want that kind of regret. So I made this beautiful terrine. It had, like I said, duck and elk and vegetables. And, I cooked it on low in the oven, and it kind of like steam cooks. And it was really good. And people were like, wow, that looks even better than our lunch. I don't know what to say because you had catered lunch yourself, but so the people would eat and the dogs would eat with them in shifts, and it was just funny. But yeah, it was really cute. It was a rainy day though, so that kind of stunk, but it was nice. They had all these massages. You could get a massage with your dog. You could do yoga with your dog, and then whatever other activities. And then there was, a photographer, and then they would come and eat, and it was really cute.
No, that's great.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like it was cute. Well, Dr. Bryant, do you have any last questions you want to ask Bonnie?
No, I want Bonnie to share again. Just let us know how. Well, number one, I'm happy you're here with us again. I really enjoy talking to you about what you do, and I think it's amazing what you're doing. I wonder though, sometimes, are there ways? I mean, you're doing fresh food, so the only way you can extend your stuff and go get bigger is to use preservatives and to.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to get bigger. I kind of like my I like that I know the pets.
Okay.
And I do want to get bigger, but I don't think I want to get huge. I'm a little older already, but I really enjoy like meeting the dogs and watching their journey. And most of my dogs, once they start, they complete their life cycle on my food. So
that's nice. That's
nice.
And
that's great.
It's probably also sad to see that cycle of life too, I'm sure.
Yes,
as well.
Of course it is. Well, we all go through that with our dogs and cats and bunnies and any other pet that we have.
Right.
So it is sad, but
well, I'm just happy you're doing what you're doing and you're happy with it, and I'm happy that you're able to touch the lives that you have able to do so.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love to do stuff with rescue. So if anybody is watching and they're in the New York area and they want to do an event, please let me know. I'll be glad to do things, on a small budget.
I love that you're able to do that. I love that. For all those places that are pet friendly, you have a customer appreciation day, or you're saying with a rescue or shelter organization, some event where you have you do the catering for it would be awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy that. And if you watch any of the things that I've done, I always bring in a rescue at the end. So when I did the People TV, I brought a rescue in at the end. When I did the thing on Animal Planet, it was for cats. And we went to the shelter after the aristocrat cat ate her food. We went to the shelter and we fed the cats there. So I like to include all my things with the rescue because it's really important work and people don't get enough appreciation for the things that they do there.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much, Bonnie, for joining us today. This has been a very informative conversation. I absolutely loved it. If anyone wants to have a nutritional consult with Bonnie, you can always email her at hamptonpetchef@gmail.com or give her a call directly. And this way you will be able to get a customized menu choices for your pet, cat and dog, or just dogs, Bonnie?
Well, I can do cats as well. I started off doing some cat stuff, but the people that have contacted me just mostly seem to be dog people. So, but yes.
But you can do cats, so that's important. So definitely, Bonnie has been at this for years and years and years, has been featured on TV. So make sure you reach out to Bonnie so that you can find out how she best can serve your cat and dog. For now, this is Dr. Bryant and myself and Bonnie Emmerich signing off, and we want to thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Let's see. Now I pushed